There's 28
Okay.
people here so far.
Okay, great. Um, well, welcome everyone to Auroville Live. We're very excited to show our first online tea shop in a couple of months. We're going to be showing a wonderful short film uh, by the two filmmakers, Aurelio and Yatra Srinivassan. And we just want to go through a few details about the Zoom meeting. First of all, we have the mute button on the lower left. So please have yourself muted during the presentation. Otherwise, all incidental noises will pop up and disturb everyone else. So and then there's a stop video button right next to it. So let's say you want to get up and you can either be present with a video or not. It's up to you. We love to see your face, but if you're feeling private, you can still view everything and just not have your face visible. Then we have the chat towards the middle of the bottom bar. And the chat is going to be disabled during the viewing, but it will be open after the viewing for everyone to interact and ask questions. Uh-oh. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. You
Can you
muted
hear
for
me
a
now?
second, but
Okay.
you're good.
Okay. And then we have the reactions button, which allows you to applaud, thumbs up, and send all kinds of great reactions. But the most important one is to raise your hand when you have a question at the end of the movie, and Aurelio and Srini will be discussing the filmmaking process. So please click on the raise your hand icon under reactions so we can have you ask your question in person. Another option at the end would be to type your question in the chat and address it to everyone, and then we will go over the questions and answer them. Okay, if you have any questions now, please. So the movie is 30 minutes long. That is Reina. The movie is 30 minutes long, and it will be in Tamil with subtitles in English. And that's about it. And I think Matthew now has something to, wants to welcome you. So Matthew.
Thanks, Yana. And hey, everybody. It's so nice to be even in this virtual space with you all. The miracle of technology in the 21st century. We have friends from all over the world here. And I just, this is a special event for me. I really was touched by Ruud's story the first time I read it, Iniyan, because it's such a deep reflection on the intertwining of human stories and the depth of Tamil culture, and this new matrimandir, this new aspiration for the future that could be seen as something totally separate, but Ruud weds them together in this story, and it was really moving to me. And I've shared it with a few people over time, and every time I've shared it with somebody, they've been also really moved by it. So when Aurelio mentioned that he and Yatra Srinivasan were doing a movie based on this story, I was so excited and really wanted to, do whatever we could to support it. And so it's all come to fruition now. The film is complete. It's really good. I've watched it. The cinematography is beautiful. The story is well conveyed. It's very creatively done in the present moment, taking a story that was done in the past about the past and bringing it and making it very relevant and very poignant to the present moment. And I just am grateful to Aurelio and Srini for bringing this together and for partnering with us so that we could offer it to you in this kind of intimate setting with them here joining us. And so for those of you that don't know, Aurelio is a jack of all trades, a musician, entrepreneur. He has developed Svaram musical instrument workshop and sound healing, um, sound healing entity that provides sound healing both on an individual kind of one on you can go to a sound healing experience, but Svaram itself kind of emanates sound healing as an entity and through its purpose. And so, and Yatra Srinivassan is from Kolapalayam, just outside of Auroville, and has been a filmmaker and an actor and won awards. And anybody who saw the Auroville Film Festival or participated in the Auroville Film Festival would have seen some of his work there. And just really relevant, poignant, beautiful work. And I would include Iniyan right up there with his greatest accomplishments. So those are the two that you see on your screen. Aurelio and Srini are here, and I'll just hand it over to Aurelio to give a brief introduction of the project and the film.
Can you, yeah, I'm just really touched to be here with you, with this community in Auroville. It was always for me those people who were called into the future and those people who basically received the seeds of the future. And I'm very touched to see so many friends here. Anandi is even there from Auroville. And I'm very moved that Jose is there from the Netherlands, because when that idea came up, actually it was Srini coming towards me in the lockdown period where it was so difficult for artists and the creative folk. And he said, hey, can we not do some work? Is there something there? And of course, Iniyan, I carried it for, I don't know, 7 years. The idea was with me. And I said, hey, that might be the right moment. And then I just actually contacted Jose in the Netherlands and says, hey, you think that would be interesting? That would do something? And then she said, oh, you know what? There are two things happening for us. In one way, it's reviving and exploring who Ruth really was, this amazing Franciscan father up there on the scaffolding of Madre. And then Jose had a personal experience, revelations in a process with the story of Lemuria. And so then she basically joined hands and said, let's do it together. And with the support of AVI Netherlands, we got the starting thing. And as it works so beautifully in our global community, AVI USA and Earl and his beautiful companion, they supported it. And now Matthew and his wonderful young team, how they brought it together and says, hey, let's do it together. So we feel embraced by this international community. And as I always felt embraced by the local community here. And just a brief, just a few sentences how it came about. Now I had been in Japan, maybe it was like 10 years ago, and I cleaned up the house of one of the old devotees who was there at the beginning of Auroville, Louise Hansen, and she was with the mother and had her darshans. So she was in her 90s and had to go to a nursing home. And while cleaning up the house, in the bookshelf, I find this little hardcover booklet, Iniyan the Lemurian. And I was it came right at the right moment into my life because I was a bit homesick to Tamil Nadu. I was taking care, I was in this elder care in Japan. I missed the Auroville, I missed the local culture. And then this book became a real treasure for me. And it responded similar to what Matthew said. It responded to I think from the first moment I came to Auroville, there was always this question, why is this seed of the future of this utopian adventure, which we really don't know where it's leading us, why is it planted specifically in this Tamil soil? Yeah. What's the connection? What is the Tamil soil offering for that seed of the future? If it's a divine working, then it must have been preordained. And so I had, how to say, in one way was the fascination of the unknown adventure of consciousness. And at one point, this love affair with the Tamil culture, of which there is not much known in Western ethnology ethnography, music ethnology, and I had my love affair with the local culture. And I put that question even at one point. I don't know, some of you might know Bhuvana is in the team in AVI USA, and her mother, Premananda Kumar, who was the first PhD in Tamil Nadu, and she was on our governing board in the last years. So I said, what's the real connection between the ancient Tamil culture and the seed of the future? And that's what Root actually, I think he had the same question. In those early years being on Madhyamandir, building it, he had these diary notes, and some people might have read his book on the house for the third millennium. That was his major work, basically. And Iniyan was actually only published after post-mortem, when he had passed away. It was found as part of his manuscripts. And I think Jose would know many more findings on Root. In the course of exploring the story, we went to quite all those old Aurovillians who knew him personally. We wanted to explore what kind of a man was he, and why was he actually the first one. He knew, he was a linguist and knew Tamil and read Tamil. Meenakshi was telling me when she came into his room, on his night cupboard, there was a Tamil novel. And she couldn't believe that there was a Westerner there reading a novel in Tamil. Yeah. And so he received some grants and invited Meenakshi. He brought Meenakshi to Auroville, basically, and invited her to participate in village work. So he was really the first Westerner who had a strong interest in the culture and who's brought it even into social outreach. That's it. I had this image of circling around Madhyamandir, and I just come from the gardens, and I'm doing it since more than 30 years. I had this image always when I was working in the villages, in the far out villages, the innocence of those children and their discovery spirit. And in one way, I think I carried that same innocence in relationship to the miracle of Madhyamandir being built. And so I think I tried to step in those kids, what happened when they first would see Madhyamandir. That was the core inspiration, basically, for that film. And when the story of Iniyan came, it just matched. And then Srini comes and says, hey, need to do some work here. And that's how basically it came. Srini explained a little bit of the background. I don't know if people saw that Facebook live interview from a few days ago. One beautiful anecdote, the last thing before we really dive into that adventure. He helped from his background to build this story. Root almost, he sees it from a Western perspective with wonderment, with a question, what are those people? Who are they? Where are they coming from? And all of that. And we were very happy actually that in the film, all the narrator's story, it is original sentences of Root from the story. And we were very glad actually to find one of the oldest Dutch Aurovillian, Kirit from Gaia Guest House. He basically reads that. We thought it would be interesting to have a Dutch accent. And we got the beautiful feedback. We just watched it with Raman and Kamala, some of the oldest Tamil Aurovillians, the other day. And for the first time, it was a surprise to them. And they said, actually, Raman said it was like Root was speaking. So that was a very touching feedback for us. And so we basically, I think we're offering the works for all of you who are basically part of this adventure. And let's see what comes out. For us, the making of the movie, will speak afterwards, so many things fell in place. Yeah. We felt that there was something working with us or maybe through us, and still we have questions. What's the effect of the film? What does it touch? What's the outcome of it? But we trusted the process, and we are here basically to share the outcome of it, and we'll be very happy then to hear what parts are touched and what reflections it brings. I think that makes us ready to really dive into it, no?
Thanks, Aurelio. And this is the world premiere of Iniyan, so we welcome you all. And I'll just get it going here.
Fascinating though, that feeling of contacting in these people. Layers of history before history, of time before time, of the early layers of humankind, 10,000 or more years ago. Like dropped from another planet, in the midst of one of the most ancient civilizations on Earth, the Tamil one, which claims to have been transmitted unchanged over at least 5,000 years and must therefore be at least twice as old. I often watched him secretly, for he radiated a quiet peace, a certainty, a rootedness. He became my symbol of a deep, long and rich past. Each village has its Amam, the mother, with the changing faces and names. It hints at a fertility cult, connected with an agricultural tradition. Strange how your whole concept of history can change by a meeting with a little old man sitting quietly under a tree.
வாங்கம்மா, நல்லா படிக்கிறீங்களா?
நல்லா படிக்கிறோம். ஏய் குட்டிமா, எப்படி இருக்க?
படிப்பு தான் பெண்களுக்கு ரொம்ப முக்கியம்.
உனக்கு பூ பிடிக்குமாடா? என்ன பூ பிடிக்கும்?
வேணுதா?
என்னங்க?
குலதெய்வத்தை நல்லா வேண்டிக்க.
சரிங்க.
எல்லாரும் நல்லா இருக்கணும்னு.
That's when I first noticed Iniyan. He was a bit older and quite aloof, a real South Indian face with strongly pronounced features.
படைக்க நேரமாச்சு, விளையாடுனது போதும்.
தோ கொஞ்ச நேரம் விளையாட்டுறமா.
I never know when I observe these things, whether to laugh or to cry, but it always strangely affects me. The symbols, the archetypes, the rituals from the most ancient times are poured out over your head.
டேய் பசங்களா, படைக்க நேரமாச்சு, வாங்க.
சீக்கிரம் வாங்க, விளையாடுனது போதும். பாண்டியா பாத்து.
மாமா உட்கார்ந்திருந்தாரு, எங்க போனாரு? டேய் பசங்களா, இங்க தாத்தா உட்கார்ந்திருந்தாரு, பாத்தீங்களா?
பாக்கலையே, இங்க தான் இருந்தாரு.
அவர் இப்படிதான் அடிக்கடி மாயமாயிடுவாரு. சரி நீங்க வாங்க. வா.
நீங்க வந்து சாமி கும்பிடுங்க, வாங்க வாங்க.
Here in South India, nothing has its fixed place. Everything moves and dances and vibrates.
அப்பா. கரிகாலா, குடிக்கிறதுக்கு தண்ணி எத்தனை வந்துக்கலாம்டா.
I really missed Iniyan in all these experiences. I had a feeling that his quiet presence might have helped me sorting out both the symbol chains and my own feelings. It was as if the bottom fell out of me and I gazed into a deep and far regions unknown to me and anybody on earth except apparently Iniyan.
மாரிமுத்தே, கைத்த அந்த கலையில கட்டுறா.
ஏம்பா, என்னப்பா பண்றீங்க? என்னப்பா பண்றீங்க? நிறுத்துங்கப்பா, நிறுத்துங்கப்பா. வேணாம்பா, வேணாம்பா. நிறுத்துங்கப்பா. ஏம்பா அந்த மரத்தை வெட்டுறீங்க?
பெரியப்பா, சும்மா காலைல வேலை செய்யும்போது தடுங்கல் பண்ணீங்க. போ பெரியப்பா, வர.
ஏம்பா அந்த மரத்தை வெட்டுறீங்க?
அதெல்லாம் சொல்ல முடியாது, கிளம்பு.
ஏன் தாத்தா, மரத்தை வெட்டாம மக்கள் நிக்கிறது நிழல் எப்படி கட்டுறது?
ஏம்பா, இந்த மரமே ஒரு நிழல் கொடை தான். இந்த மரத்தை வெட்டாம நிழல் கொடையை தள்ளி கட்டுங்களம்பா.
பெரியவரே, காலையிலே கதையை வளர்க்காதீங்க. ஒரு மரக்கண்ணு நட்டா வளர்ந்துற போகுது. இதெல்லாம் ஒரு கதையா பெரியப்பா? வெய்யிட்ட வேலை செய்ய முடியாது பெரியப்பா. போ, அவங்க கூட கவுத்த பிடிப்போ. மரத்தை வெட்டின ரோட்டுக்குள்ள வந்துற போகுது.
அதெல்லாம் முடியாது. மரத்தை வெட்ட விட மாட்டேன். இந்த மரத்தை வெட்ட நான் விட மாட்டேன். வெட்டுங்கப்பா. ஏன் நிக்கிறீங்க? முதல்ல என்னை வெட்டி போட்டு அப்புறம் இந்த மரத்தை வெட்டுங்கப்பா.
என்ன பெரியப்பா, உனக்கு பைத்தியம் கீத்தியம் பிடிச்சிச்சா என்ன? உலகத்துல யாருமே மரம் வெட்டுறது இல்ல?
எனக்கு பைத்தியம் பிடிக்கலப்பா. நம்ம முன்னோர்கள் இயற்கையை தெய்வமா வணங்கினாங்க. அந்த இயற்கையை அழிக்கிறீங்க பாரு. உங்களுக்கு தான்ப்பா பைத்தியம் பிடிச்சி போச்சு.
என்ன கோபாலு, இவர்கிட்ட பேசி ஜெயிக்க முடியும்? என்ன பண்ணலாம்?
என்ன பண்றது? அங்க என்னதான் கட்டணும். எடுங்கடே, அந்த கவுத்தெல்லாம் ஊத்தி எடுத்துன்னு வாங்கடா.
டேய், கைத்தெல்லாம் வந்து எடுத்துட்டு வாடா.
போயிட்டே இருங்க.
வேலை அவ்வளோதான்.
I began to look more closely into those deep, brooding eyes of Iniyan and asked myself what ancient secrets might be hidden there, of which we young ones don't even know the alphabet.
கரிகாலா, ஆரம்பிக்கலாம்டா. பாண்டியா, கல்லா மண்ணா பச்சையா? கல்லு. கல்லா மண்ணா பச்சையா? கல்லு.
I discovered it with a shock which shook me out of my ordinary mind into a consciousness of light and space, carried forward by a knowledge, the certainty of being involved in a major turn of events, one of those historical Earth moments when evolution seems to hold its breath.
டேய் நீங்க எவ்வளவு தூரம் குத்தி தள்ள போனாலும் அவங்கள அவுட் அடிக்காம விட மாட்டேன்டா. டேய் பாண்டியா தள்ளு தள்ளு. நல்லா மாட்டன. காவேரி நீ அவுட் ஆக போற. பாண்டியா இங்க சீக்கிரம் வாயேன். காவேரி நீ சீக்கிரம் வாயேன். என்னடா அங்க பாருங்களேன், பெரிய தங்க பந்தாட்டம் ஜொலிக்குது. என்னது அது? ரொம்ப அழகா இருக்கு. அதை தொட்டு பார்க்கணும் எனக்கு ரொம்ப ஆசையா இருக்குடா. அதுக்குள்ள என்ன இருக்கும்? நானே இப்பதான் பாக்குறேன். தெரியலையே. நம்ம தாத்தா கிட்ட கேட்டா சொல்லுவாரு. போய் கேட்கலாமா? வாங்க தாத்தா கிட்ட போய் கேட்டு பார்க்கலாம். காடு ரொம்ப அழகா இருக்குல்ல? டேய் அழகா இருக்குடா. பூலாம் கொட்டுது இல்ல?
We are pushing, banging, ramming the great doors of paradise, anxious to enter and liberate it once more upon the earth, set free the hidden paradise which is right here in matter.
என் தாத்தா நிறைய கதைலாம் சொல்லுவாரு. அப்போ உங்க தாத்தா நல்லா படிச்சவரு.
There was a segment of people who for some reason or other didn't fit in, or didn't want to fit in, and who pushed out of the cultural, the religious and the caste systems, or who kept themselves aloof from it, as if they had something of their own.
இங்க பழம் எடுத்தது போதும், அங்க போய் எடுப்பா.
அங்கயா?
அங்க தான் எடு.
எப்பா எங்கயா?
அங்க தான். காவேரி மண்ணை போடுமா?
சரி தாத்தா. தாத்தா நேத்து நான் காட்டுக்குள்ள விளையாட போனேன்ல, அங்க ஒரு பெரிய தங்க பந்து பார்த்தேன். என்னது அது? எதுக்கு அது அங்க கட்டி வச்சுக்கிறாங்க?
அது ஒரு கோயில் மாதிரி ஆரோவில் நடுவில் கட்டியிருக்காங்க. அதை மாத்திரு மந்திரின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க.
தாத்தா இந்தாங்க செடிக்கு தண்ணி ஊத்துங்க.
குடுமா. கரிகாலா, காவேரி, 2 பேரும் எழுந்து வாங்க.
எங்க தாத்தா?
இன்னைக்கு உங்களுக்கு அந்த தங்கப்பந்து கதையை சொல்ல போறேன், கேளுங்க. இந்த தென்னையில உட்காருங்க, இதோ வரேன்.
ஐ தாத்தா தங்கப்பந்து கதை சொல்ல போறாராம். தாத்தா சொல்ல போற கதையை கேட்கலாம்.
டேய் கரிகாலா, வேலை செஞ்சுன்னு கிடந்தவரை கதை பேச அனுப்பிட்ட. வெய்ய ஏறதுக்குள்ள செடி நட்டா நல்லா இருக்கும். ரேணுகா, இன்னைக்கு தோட்டத்துல செடி நட்ட மாதிரி தான்.
இங்க இதோட நாளைக்கு தான்.
தாத்தா தங்கப்பந்து கதை சொல்றேன்னு சொன்னாருப்பா. இதோ கொஞ்ச நேரம் கேட்டு வரேன்ப்பா. வாங்க தாத்தா.
இதோ வந்துட்டேன். காவேரி அப்படி கொஞ்சம் நவருமா?
சரிங்க தாத்தா.
ஐம்பது வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னே நானும் நம்ம ஊரை சேர்ந்தவங்களும் மாத்திரை மந்திரி கட்ட வேலை செஞ்சுருக்கோம். இதோ எல்லாரும் வேலை செய்கிறோம் பாருங்க. இங்கே தான் மாத்திரை மந்திரி கட்ட அடித்தளம் எடுத்தோம்.
தாத்தா இது நீங்களா?
இதோ இருக்கிறோம் பாரு. நான்
A spirit of togetherness and of being involved in the same large adventure, which grows and binds all of us together.
தாத்தா நீங்க இங்க இருக்கீங்க.
இதோ சிரிச்சுக்கின்னு இருக்கிறோம் பாரு.
What we are building in the center of our city is the alchemical vessel to liberate the hidden gold in the cells of men, in the atoms of matter. The house of transformation. Transformation is what my ancestors were after, and all our knowledge deals with only that.
இது ஆலமரம் ஆம்பி தியேட்டரு மாத்திரை மந்திரி. காவேரி, இந்த இடம் எதுக்கு அடையாளம் தெரியுமா?
தெரியலையே தாத்தா.
இந்த ஆரோவில் நகரம் உலக மக்கள் ஒற்றுமைக்கு அடையாளமா இருக்குது.
என்ன தாத்தா சொல்றீங்க? நம்ம ஊர்ல இருக்கிறது எப்படி உலக மக்கள் ஒற்றுமைக்கு அடையாளமா இருக்கும்?
ஆரோவில் ஒற்றுமைக்கு அடையாளம் தான். நான் சொல்றேன் கேளுங்க. பாருங்க, இங்கத்தான் 1968 பல நாட்டில இருந்து கைப்பிடி மண்ணை கொண்டாந்து இதுக்குள்ளார போட்டு ஆரோவில் நகரத்தை ஆரம்பிச்சாங்க. ஆரோவில் சர்வதேச நகரத்துல பல நாட்டை சேர்ந்த மக்கள் வேற்றுமை இல்லாம ஒற்றுமையா வாழறாங்க. அதனால தான் இந்த நகரம் உலக மக்கள் ஒற்றுமைக்கு அடையாளமா இருக்குது. இந்த நகரத்து மத்தியில தான் மாத்திரை மந்திரி இருக்குது. இந்த இடத்துல தான் உலக மக்கள் எல்லாரும் வந்து தியானம் செய்வாங்க.
ஏமாமா, அந்த தங்கப்பந்து உள்ள வெறும் தியானம் மட்டும்தான் செய்வாங்களா, இல்ல நம்ம வீட்டுல படைக்கிற மாதிரி தேங்காய், பூ, பழம், கற்பூரம் இதெல்லாம் வச்சு படைக்கவும் செய்வாங்களா?
ரேணுகா, மாத்திரை மந்திரிக்குள்ள அதெல்லாம் பண்ண மாட்டாங்க. அதுக்குள்ளார போய் கண்ணை மூடிக்கின்னு அப்படியே உட்காந்து நிற்பாங்க.
ஜாதி மதம் இன வேற்றுமை பார்க்காம உலக மக்கள் அனைவரும் ஒற்றுமையா தியானம் பண்ற இடம் அது.
இத்தனை வருஷமா நான் இந்த ஊர்ல தான் மாமா இருக்கிறேன். ஆனா ஒரு தடவை கூட உள்ள போய் நான் பார்த்ததே இல்ல மாமா. சரி, இந்தாங்க மோர் எடுத்துக்கோங்க.
ரேணுகா, உன்னை மாத்திரை மந்திரிக்குள்ள இட்டுன்னு போறேன். எனக்கு ஒரு கிளாஸ் மோர் கூட அவங்களுக்கே கொடுத்துருக்குற.
ஆமா, இத்தனை வருஷமா கூட்டு போல, இந்த ஒரு கிளாஸ் மோருக்காக என்ன கூட்டு போறீங்களா?
கண்டிப்பா இந்த மாதிரி கூட்டுன்னு போறேன்.
I was walking home after this first visit to Iniyan's house, my head bursting with information, my heart stretched out like elastic over the Earth's history, my mind making links and comparisons, trying to fix, to pin down, to understand.
தாத்தா அந்த மரத்தை பாருங்களேன்.
ஆ, அது ஆலமரம். ஐம்பது வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னே இதெல்லாம் பொட்டல் காடாக இருந்தது. இப்போ பார்த்தீங்களா, மரமெல்லாம் வளர்ந்து காடாக ஆயிடுது.
We walk here on this ancient land as we did more than 50,000 years ago. This very soil, he said, touching the earth with a caress, is the remains of what was once a great land. Most of it is now hidden under the sea. The land we are sitting on is as if it was in the first days of the world.
தாத்தா இப்படி ஒரு இடம் இருக்குதுன்னு தெரியவே தெரியாது தாத்தா. தாத்தா இதெல்லாம் நம்ம ஊர் சேர்ந்துதா?
யாதும் ஊரே யாவரும் கேளீர். எல்லா ஊரும் நம்ம ஊர் தான், எல்லாரும் நம்ம சொந்தம்தான். ஒரு தமிழ் கவிஞன் சொல்லியிருக்கிறான். வாங்க.
அந்த குருவியை பாருங்களேன்.
அழகா இருக்குதுல்ல. சுப்பிரமணிய சாமி இதோ வந்தேன் அற்புதமாகவே இப்பொழுது என்று.
இது என்ன பாட்டு?
இது தெருக்கூத்து பாட்டுப்பா.
தாத்தா தெருக்கூத்துல ஆடுவீங்களாமே அப்படின்னு அப்பா சொன்னாரு.
அந்த காலத்துல தெருக்கூத்தெல்லாம் ஆடி இருக்கிறோமா.
தாத்தா தாத்தா எங்களுக்கு ஒரு முறை தெருக்கூத்து ஆடி காட்டுங்க தாத்தா.
தெருக்கூத்தெல்லாம் நம்ம ஊர்ல ஆடி இருக்கிறேன். அதெல்லாம் ஒரு காலம். இப்ப ஏன்பா?
ஆடி காட்டுங்க தாத்தா.
சரி சரி ஆடுறேன், நீங்க உட்காருங்க.
நீங்க ஆடுங்க ஆடுங்க தாத்தா, நாங்க பாக்குறோம். தாத்தா ரொம்ப அருமையா இருந்தது. தாத்தா தெருக்கூத்தெல்லாம் இப்படிதான் ஆடுவாங்களா?
ஆமாம்பா, தெருக்கூத்தெல்லாம் நம்ம தமிழ் மக்களுடைய பாரம்பரிய கலை வடிவம். வாங்க.
Approaching him, I had an experience which I never had before. I felt I was entering something extremely remote, almost sacred, but I couldn't give it a name. Iniyan's smile was as wide as warm as ever, and I felt immediately at home with him. Or rather, not at home, but secure, in a good place, in a right place.
தாத்தா எவ்வளோ பெரிய கடல்.
ஆமாம், காவேரி கடல் ரொம்ப பெருசு. போய் விளையாடுங்க போங்க.
வா கரிகாலா, கடல்ல போய் விளையாடலாம்.
கரிகாலா, அலை வருது பாரு, பார்த்து விளையாடு.
தாத்தா, நாங்க இங்க ஒரு தங்க பந்து கட்டுறோம். சீக்கிரம் சீக்கிரம் அலை வருது, மண் எடுத்து போடு.
வாங்க 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 வாங்க.
தாத்தா, நான் கடலுக்கு வந்து ரொம்ப நாளாச்சு தாத்தா. என்ன தாத்தா, கதையை பாதியிலே நிறுத்திட்டு கடலை கூட்டிட்டு வந்துக்கிறீங்க?
கதையை சொல்கிறேன், நீங்கள் இந்த கடலை பாருங்க. இந்த கடல் தான் ஒரு கண்டத்தையே விழுங்கிடுச்சு.
என்ன தாத்தா சொல்றீங்க? கடல் விழுங்கிடுச்சா?
ஆமாம் கரிகாலா, நம்ம நாட்டு தென்கோடியில் கன்னியாகுமரி பக்கத்தில் குமரி கண்டம், அதாவது லெமோரியா இருந்திருக்குது. அங்கே ஒரு உலகமாக எல்லா மக்களும் ஒற்றுமையாக வாழ்ந்திருக்காங்க. ஆதி காலத்திலேயே லெமோரியா மனிதகுல ஒற்றுமைக்கு அடையாளமாக இருந்திருக்குது. அங்கே வாழ்ந்த மக்கள் இயற்கையை தான் தெய்வமாக வழிபட்டாங்க. பல்லாயிரம் வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னே லெமோரியா இந்திய பெருங்கடலில் மூழ்கிடுச்சு. அந்த லெமோரியாவோட தொடர்ச்சியாக தான் ஒரு தங்க பாலமாக தான் இந்த ஆரோவில் நகரத்தை நான் பார்க்குறேன்.
தாத்தா, எனக்கு அந்த தங்க பந்து போய் பார்க்கணும்னு ஆசையாக இருக்குது தாத்தா.
பார்க்கலாம், உங்கள் 2 பேரையும் அழைச்சிட்டு போகிறேன்.
தாத்தா, ஸ்கூல் லேட்டுன்னு போகிறேன்னு சொன்னாங்க.
அப்படியா? போய் பாருங்க அந்த தங்கப்பந்தோட அழகை.
Okay, dear children, we are now coming to a magical place. Look at these old stones. Can you feel the energy of all the colorful stones as we walk through? They once lived deep in the ocean and were brought here to the Matrimandir. You can see the shells inside the stones.
Yes.
Waiting for the time that this ancient land wakes up once more to its innate calling, until the link can be made between what is the remote past and the future of mankind.
People from all over the world come here to connect and meditate. Have you ever seen such a beautiful globe like this? Yeah, special place.
The city being built on this hill by the sea will be a universal township, a laboratory for the new consciousness.
Each one of you, gently place your hand. Soil from 124 countries. Feel the vibration. Can you connect with where those places are and the people who live there? Here is the entrance to the chamber, where people come to connect to human unity.
Now, people from many nations have gathered here to build once more a city of consciousness and knowledge. Wouldn't this be the time? We are trying to liberate our own hidden spark, to make it once more into the center of the personality. The feeling I more and more got was looking into a mirror in which everything is backwards, reversed. The cycle closed, the end is the beginning. The Lemurian is the present-day man in reverse. Iniyan is me, inside out.
தந்தானே தானன்னே தானன்னே தந்தானே தானன்னே தானன்னே தந்தானே தானன்னே தானன்னே தந்தானே தானன்னே தானன்னே தந்தானே தானன்னே தந்தானே தானன்னே தந்தானே தானன்னே தானன்னே தந்தானே தானன்னே தானன்னே தந்தானே நானே தானே தானன்னே தானே நன்னே
Thank you, thank you.
I think we've got 2 people working the controls here. Where are you? There you are. Okay. So beautiful. And I often don't watch films twice. It's not something, just I don't tend to, but I definitely got another layer of meaning and depth from watching it again. And also after having seen the live stream where you explained some things. So yeah, I really appreciated that. And I'd love to hear, we can't assume that everybody here was on the live stream. So don't feel worried about repeating yourself, Srini, if you want to share some things about how this came together, and we'll also take questions. So if you have questions that you'd like to ask Srini or Aurelio, please raise your hand, and I will call on you. But go ahead if you guys just want to give a overview of kind of.
Yatra, how your adventure with it?
Yes, I was so happy. Aurelio gave this wonderful opportunity to make this film to realize. As soon as he narrated the story and the story behind how he found this story when he was traveling in Japan, and it was so inspired for him. Then one fine evening he just called me, and he had a thought to produce this movie, to make this movie, Iniyan, the great legend, and written by Ruud Lohman. And the story was so inspiring for me also. It's about Tamil culture, it's about Auroville, it's about Lemuria, the connection between the past and the future. So I was so inspired in this story. Then we started thinking about scenes and how related to the short story, and what are the symbolic scenes we can put, and what are the castings in this film. We all just start working. It was a nice process. Nearly more than 10 to 11 months we have been working, and it was so inspiring. I mean, we filmed in and around Auroville. All the shots have been taken in Auroville and around bioregion, and the casting also, it was very interesting moments, find the characters, and a lot of things happen during the production, scouting the location. For example, the Bodhi tree we found in one bioregion village. So we organized, okay, in the story, Iniyan was going to the festival, so maybe we can pray, the praying scene, we can have that under the Bodhi trees, and canyon, an archaeological place, Mathur Mandir garden, so, and in the forest, the children playing, so all sort of locations. There is a meaning behind it. Aurelio was just telling me, I see, Srini, there is a very traditional tree there, we have to film there. An archaeological place where the old stone and the young feet touch on the stone, and it gives the symbolic things, past and future connection. So he was giving a lot of inspiration, but because his dream film that he's so inspired. So our team, our Yatra team, was more keen on that, and carving the scenes, the shot by shot, location, acting, and the shooting.
The beautiful thing was actually that Srini, basically, he said we have to build the character. What are his activities? Because in Ruud's story, it's more descriptive. You heard his sentences. No, he's the observer. But Srini said, no, it's somebody from our culture. What can he do? What are his actions? And then in Auroville at that time, there was actually, I don't know if that was part of it, but this whole thing with tree cutting and all of that. So I was very surprised. Srini brought together ideas where he said, we have to build a character. People have to understand who is this person and what's motivating him. And there was one beautiful incident where we were basically looking for the right man, the old man. I had certain images. He sent me some pictures. It took for some time, a few weeks, we met a few times. And then he sent me a picture and I said, this is it. This is the man. Yeah. And it so happened actually that Srini then very shyly, he said, you know what, actually, this is my father. And in one way, so he told that story in the Facebook, which for me was so great because it came out, so the film was an adventure, and then we found out that actually his father worked in the ashram paper factory. He had quite a few times the balcony darshan of the mother.
Yes.
He was there at the inauguration of Auroville in '68. So we couldn't have found anybody else who had this deep inner relationship. And the old man now, he's more like a recluse. He's just only reading the scriptures. And for him, well, when we just 2 weeks ago, we had a preview, and that day in the morning, suddenly I meet him completely shaved. And he didn't know that the film is finished. And we called him over, and he said this morning he had to go to the temple. He felt something is accomplished. And he wants to give the gratitude to the gods. And in the evening we called him to watch the film. So he was so blessed. I think for me that his growing, or that we could honor basically his participation, there was a very big part of the film for me. And to see that it's a true story, it's a life. Ruud, it was a legend. Ruud experienced something of it, but that through Srini's help, that we brought it back to life again. That was a very beautiful part of the story. And what inspired me also, once we were in the studio, kind of like in the first cuttings, and then I'm looking, and I'm starting to count. I have a paper there, and I see that we had more than like 22 or 24 animal species.
Inside the
which,
film.
you know, even when we were filming, there was this dog running by, and we wanted to convey something of the beautiful nature of the Tamil land. And then we felt in some of those incidences, we really felt blessed. Or when he shows these black and white pictures, you know what we said? I asked the old pioneers, what was your music when you built Madhya Mandir? What was the most inspiring music? How do you identify this time? And everybody said it was Sunil. It was Sunil's music. So I chose one of those favorite passages. When we brought it into the cutting room, it was a certain 4 minutes or something, and it fitted completely from the time he started to show the pictures. So we felt many things just fell into place where we both looked at each other and says,
just matched.
Okay, something is there, something is working.
Yeah. In the first day of shooting, we arranged under the tree. There was huge rain. We thought it's a blessing. The first day, whole crew were there, and then even in the rain, and we just filmed in the first shot when they're walking on the water, and many miracles happen during the shoot. It just is placed according to the shots, and even in the music and even the Rule Doman's real content from his story we placed in different places as a voiceover that also matched perfectly. So it's really very wonderful. I mean,
there was a coincidence. You know, I mean, that's a great thing working with Srini. He just, you know, as they are, trusting the process, trusting that something else is working through it. And at one point after the first cut, we looked at it and says, it needs a storyteller or something. It needs, and who would be the storyteller for this whole thing? And then I went back to the text and basically jotted out significant sentences. And then we came to a certain selection, and we just placed them, and they all fell into place, basically. So there was this momentum where we felt like, some things are falling into the right place here. Anyway, we would be interested also because, you know, with the present issues in Auroville and the, how to say, whatever is there, how to say, from the official dam and all of that, and the green work, and Madhya Mandir at this center, So for us, it would be very interesting to hear from your side what are perceptions, what are concerns, possibly even. We felt safe because, as I mentioned, we had shown it to some of our elders Tamil couple in Auroville, Raman and Kamala. And actually, there were some questions on their side, but overall they said, oh, it's so important, it's so good that that part is also documented, the participation and the ground, the soil of Madhyamantir, and the culture which basically co-created it. So it would be lovely to hear how to say, even if it's some criticisms and concerns. And I mean, for us, actually, if I may mention that also, there was a thing, the movie was finished and we really still needed some funds, and then we had actually an offer from the press and from the government, because it's an offering for the 150th of Shri Aurobindo's birthday. But basically we said, no, let's keep it independent in that way, because we don't know it. We don't want that anybody uses it for certain purposes and stuff, because for us it was a delight, as you said, working on it. It was a bit of a riddle, and miracles also happened.
Well, I don't know if you can see the chat here, but there's a great deal of positive, supportive, people expressing that they were moved to tears. Thank you. Beautiful, very beautiful and touching, fantastic screening and quality of pictures. Anyway, we can send you these chats afterwards so you can see everybody. Really deep appreciation. I saw, Hassan, that you had a question. Do you still have a question? Do you want to jump in?
I don't know if it's more of a question than a comment. I don't know. I was really taken by the film, outdid my expectations, and I was going to ask you, I guess if it's a question, it's a very large general question that goes with the comment, is how were you able to synchronize so many seemingly sort of disparate happenings and situations? And I think you said that in the beginning of the film, and it really sort of showed that in the film. I mean, between the sacred and the profane, time and space, vision and speech. So when I was sort of engrossed in the vision of the film, there was a narrative that would come in and sort of put me, recenter the story again. It was just so balanced on every level, historically, socially, and I'm an outsider. I don't, live in Auroville, so I'm kind of seeing it from an outsider's perspective. But I just really think the film, is my perspective, really reached its goal, and it transported you there without getting lost. So you were still able to have that detachment of analyzing and understanding what was being told. So it was just overall really well balanced and very synchronized on a lot of different levels. I do some documentary work, and I was like, wow, this is a real skill and a real talent. People understand those nuances to get you to that place. So I was really impressed. Just
Thank you for beautiful feedback. I think what the magic was is the collaboration. And we had been working on a children's film, you said 17 years ago. I couldn't believe it.
Yes.
I think it's a trust into each other's, in a good teamwork, each one has a place. And between us, it's just very fluid. It's somehow, I had maybe an idea, and then Srini comes up with something very different, and his engagement, you see it in the making of, when he's on the side. I mean, he was also acting in the film. He's just like, he's the jack of all trades. And in that way. So I think it was your comment, how did we bring it together? It's because we trusted that collaboration, which I think is at the core of building Auroville. If we wouldn't have had those roots actually and those people around us, the dream wouldn't have been able to get that far as we are. And I think that's because we both, we grew into it, no? Into it, how does it being here more than 35 years, and
Yes.
you grew up with it.
Yeah.
And the old man, as he said, he was there at the foundation ceremony in 68. And when Srini mentioned in the Facebook when they were coming up and bathing in the crater, when the crater was filled in the monsoon and they were swimming in. So I think the documentary, the history, it's within us.
Yes.
And we all shared our way to telling it, no?
Yeah, it's a great honor at the same time. It's a great opportunity because we are from this soil, from this land. So Aurelio was telling this story, then I feel I am in it already. So the space, the actors, the story, when we are discussing many times, and what are the elements should be put inside, and yeah, so I somehow connected from young age how Auroville's evolution developed and how it was before, and all the bioregion people worked to construct Mathur Mandir, and Iniyan is part of it. Even in rural Roman story, the Iniyan is working in Mathur Mandir and is living in the neighbor village where caste is there, and then there's a division of people there. So all we want to connect. That's why in the story, when Aurelio was saying, Srini, make a nice thatch roof, just separate away from the village. So we have been searching from bioregion 3-4 days and traveling. Then we found, oh wow, nice thatch roof. So
I just want to jump in because I don't want to take up. I know other people have comments on that, but I wrote it down because there was so many things jumping out. I had to write it down to when you talked about the caste system, and you know, you again, that beautiful synchronicity that the two of you had, and the whole crew that you had, you were able to touch on those things and transcend them at the same time, but not ignoring them. They were there. But I think in your vision, you were saying how they were aloof from that, you know, and I thought that was a really beautiful statement. It really touched me how you were able to touch it but transcend it. And again, as you said, man, this is sort of the vision of Auroville on multiple levels. And I think the film really, like I said, I just want to say, really touched out what it was supposed to do. Thank you.
Wow. Very beautiful comment. Yeah, it gives a lot of inspiration, and I was so excited, and how it's going to be. So yeah, thank you so much. And it was a nice crew. Like when Aurelio was narrating, and our team cameraman and our director, assistant, and editors, musicians, all in a line.
Family,
like one family, and they understand whatever Aurelio thinks, and I think more or less the same what his expectations, and for international audience as well as the traditional things. So he was also here seeing our art and all these things.
I mean, that was another challenge because I wanted to have it shared with the international community, those people who relate to Auroville, and at the same time with AVI Netherlands, basically, to receive the core funding. We agreed, part of the project was that part of this 150 years of Sri Aurobindo's anniversary and 75 years of India independence, that it will be used as an educational film also in the bioregion. So in one way we catered for small school-going children, but the story, we wanted that it's story time also for adults and for the pioneers. Well, I would love to hear, for instance, Julian a little bit on just a reaction, or I'm just because I saw you there.
I was just about to type a question asking about the future distribution of the film because it brings so many important parts to me. Because Ruud, after all, was a Catholic priest, a Christian coming to learn from India. And that he should have played this key role in starting fundraising for Mathur Mandir, and then also fluent and reading Tamil. There's so many wonderful roots of the finest parts of Auroville that come together. The tree hugging so profoundly, and the ancient India versus modern India. So I love that all these themes came together, and to draw the column, I mentioned that in my little comment, because this is something that we marveled at, because it is a sacred geometry that the tradition is every morning to do that. So many elements that were lovely. So my question was the plans for the future. How are you going to roll this out, and who's going to see it? And someone asked, can you buy it?
Well, we didn't think of how to serve for commercial distribution. I mean, we're not professional. I only know that that film Evergreen Auroville, that was international success. I'm not sure. I heard from you say that she might be coming to Auroville, so we were already asked that we basically would bring a big community gathering together, and because at this moment it's so necessary that we come together. There's such a strong, almost a split in the Auroville community. So we definitely would like to use the occasion of the film, and maybe if Jose is there, that would be fantastic. We already were offered maybe the Paratnivas auditorium, and we can bring it together, maybe just celebrating the gifts of this meeting of cultures, of people from 60 countries, and the local population and supporters basically being there and carrying it. So that would be one thing. And then as part of the educational outreach, bring it up in Auroville schools. And Srini already for many years, he was going with a street theater group. He has 110 or 120 social drama films talking about alcoholism, abuse, AIDS, environment, garbage problems, and all of that. So we think so he has experience with bringing educational films to the school, and we committed that we would do that, in the bioregion. That's what partly, this government funds were there. And we said, no, we'll somehow improvise with it. If there's any ideas, Julian, on something on internationally, how that could be done, I thought maybe we can ask the German filmmaker if he has some ideas there.
Well, we do have a Woodstock Film Festival, but I was thinking how wonderful early film I saw was about someone whose niece was getting married, and there was saltwater intrusion by the sea, and he put his finger on the pump and tasted and could see that the
is Upalama and Edrigalama. Yeah, it was done in Pichanikulam for Jaws, and then I was an assistant director that film.
That moment was so profound for me, because you're blending the importance of marriage and Tamil culture and the family dynamics, and the fact that erosion and pumping out the fresh water, saltwater intrusion, so the date palms are starting to die. And he's saying, what is the future of this marriage if the water is salty? So that stayed with me all these years. So
I was part of that film production. And even in this Iniyan story, also if it is a normal documentary with a voiceover only, it won't much catchy. This is different, because from the Iniyan story, from the village guy who just experienced and talking about Auroville and future, past and Lemuria. So this is something very, very different. So with a storyline, with a family, a village family, daughter-in-law, son, the grandson. So all it's in a family living, and he was also narrating it. It's something so different.
So I have a hope actually, because Srini has an amazing oeuvre. He has this 120 social dramas basically on all subjects, and the bit of a tragedy. I tell you one anecdote, because Srini decided with his father brought them to Auroville, but they decided consciously that they don't need to join the Auroville club. So they're not Aurovillans per se, but they're also not, in the village, because he lives actually in the neighborhood of Auroville Sports Ground, new creation ground. So he's actually in an in-between situation, which played out a little bit difficult in one of the film shoots where I had fever, I couldn't be there. And then the police came out in the bioregion and says, what you doing here? What are your papers? And all of that. And I was not available. And then Srini called actually some Tamil Aurovillians in the working committee and says, please help us with this policeman. We're stuck. It takes already 2 hours lost on the scene.
Yes.
And then that Tamil Aurovillian, who was a student of Srini in the village school, basically said, no, he's not of us. He doesn't belong to us, and he's not an Aurovillian. And that was actually very painful, because I really appreciate that with Yatra, maybe Srini with his work, which he's doing, he's so much more engaged than so many other people, how to say, from the local community. But he's in this, maybe he has the freedom because you're in this in-between situation in one way. And that's why I also feel like supporting it, because it was a conscious choice. So many people want to be in it and be part of it. And he said, no, we need to bridge. We have to make the bridges between the cultures.
Yes.
Auroville International is in between often also.
Yes. That's why, you know what, I don't know how Matthew jumped on this opportunity. It felt so, I mean, my hairs are standing, Matthew, that you and your team actually,
amazing,
and that the Earl also stepped in the right moment, kind of like with the support, and it felt so much taken care of, because this in-between status, now that you say, Julian, I think in the artistic field, many of us carrying it. You don't belong here, you don't belong there, but it also gives the privilege and the freedom to create independently.
Yeah, and I want to hand it over to Earl, because I see, Earl, your hand is up. Before I do that, I just want to say that as far as support, we did ask for donations in order for people to register for the film, donations for Yatra Arts. And so we've collected about 1 lakh that we'll be sending in, what is it now? I guess in August, that will come.
Good.
And so anybody else who, the person who asked about buying the film, anybody who's here and anybody who's signed up is going to get a copy of this full video, which includes the interviews at the beginning and the end and the film. And you can use the donation portal if you want to contribute more to Yatra Arts. You can just use that donation portal on the Iniyan page on the AVI USA website where you signed up to make a donation in any amount. And like I said, already 1 lakh has been raised and will be sent. And additional, we are welcome additional donations as long as, as long as you're enjoying the film. So, Earl, go ahead. I'm going to bring you in.
Thank you. The film was wonderful. It so captured the flow of time. I felt it came out of eternity and into time, and where it is going, well, that is the question. That is the question. But the children were so important to this. Their sense of innocence, sense of wonder. All the actors were excellent, but the children were very, very special.
Yes, please tell us about them.
Tell us about them. And Linda is here with me, and we are both so happy to be even a tiny part of this wonderful work.
Yes.
But tell us about the children. Who are they? How did you find them? And what was it like working with them?
Yes, I'll tell you. It's very interesting. When we formed the story, Aurelio just told me like wonder, discover, admire. With these 3 lines, we have to project the story through children. So the children just see when they are playing and watching the Mathurmati, there's a wonder. So with that direction, when we started and moving the story, these particular children from Kuilapalayam village, they come to my Yatra Art and Culture Foundation evening tuition center. Every Monday to Friday, we have an evening tuition for village kids with the bioregion, with Kuilapalayam, Bommapalayam village, and Idenjavadi village. So 3-4 villages, children, they come to Yatra. So then we were finding a casting for children. So we are also conducting drama classes. Every Thursday, we do drama classes, training classes, theater classes for children. That moment I found this guy. His name is Adiradan, the boy. He studied 7th standard in a Auroville IKM school, in a bilingual school in the village school with Auroville supporting school. And the other girl, she's studying also in a village school and Hansika. She also studying Bharatanatyam class in our center. So we found these two characters, okay, trained, and we asked the permission from the parent, and I showed Aurelio their photo. I showed many photos to Aurelio. Then he chosen, okay, this is more authentic face like that. Then let's see the addition.
But the choice was the final choice.
Yeah, final choice was me, and then I just asked them to act few scenes in my center. So the children were so nature, and we are filmed, and I showed to Aurelio. Wow, okay, then we chosen, and they are from very poor middle class family from the village, and one of the boys' father is a driver, and one mother is working in Auroville, and he comes regularly, and he interested in arts, in acting like that. And that another girl who acted, and another boy from Iniyan, the another village.
Okay.
He is also working in a government school in Iniyan village. So 2 village kids joined, and we gave trainings, and they captured. It was very interesting during the shoot. Even Aurelio was there, and they're more enthusiastic when take the actions, and
but sometimes also completely exhausted because Srini is so demanding on the set. You know, the scene has to go again. It didn't work like this, and all of that.
Yeah, because sometimes not nature and the dialect and the expressions according to the camera movement and all, we go for next take. Sometimes like that. And when we, for example, one scene in beach, we went early morning, and then it took long time, so they were very hungry, so immediately we give biscuits, and they were more tired, and that scene when hearing the story from the grandfather. So some occasions they are really worked hard, even different locations, walking and concentration, but they supported very nice. And
no, it was.
I hope they will still want to make more movies.
No, they're interested. While doing shooting only, they have little sometimes little difficult, but after seeing the shot, they'll be very happy. Even with the final product, when we show him, they're very happy. All the pain goes. Only in the shooting only, we have little difficulties for repeated shots and all. But children were very cute. Nowadays, see, while playing, they were enjoyed. When they enjoyed during the shoot. But when few occasions, were very tired, because with the sunny days and the long day of shoot, repetition of takes, like that. But and they had a tough time when there was dubbing.
Yeah.
But rest, they're really cooperative, and they're very happy, and we found from the village. They are village kids.
One magic moment for both of us was, the pioneers, why they were inspired actually to do the bonding on the land, because in the rain and monsoon, that was the story I heard from the pioneers, that the ocean turned red. And it so happened, Srini told that in the Facebook live thing, it so happened that I thought it was a bygone story, and I never saw it. But the old pioneers, they told us how the ocean in the monsoon turned always red. And it so happened that we had 2 strong rainy days before that shot, and I was not there actually. And when I saw that the ocean was red, I said, oh my God, how did that happen? And it basically, again, it documented that impression which all the early pioneers were telling about. That was what they said, no, we cannot have all this topsoil be washed away. We have to sustain it. We have to build those dams. So that was another moment that it came into the film coincidentally.
Yeah, it was a miracle. We are using that drone shot that moment. The show is totally red. We got amazing. Oh, then the red and then the real sea color. So it all happened during the shoot. Yes.
Everything came together.
Yes. Some moments while shooting, it happens. The miracle happens.
Any input from Czech, because Mary helped a lot also with the communication, and your Satyavan is in Auroville, and you know about all the difficulties. Is there any immediate comment or reaction or concern from your side?
I was a blubbering idiot at the black and white photo section. I haven't cried that much recently.
Oh wow!
Oh really?
There's a there's a painting of Rude's. I may be able to get through this. Out in the workshop, where a lot of the machines and stuff are still kept out in Machamandir, there's a painting that Rude did of the laborers doing the excavation.
Oh my.
It is really, really wonderful. And this film felt like that to me. Maybe Mary can say something else.
No, it was just very, very moving. And it felt so rich to me to have it come from the Tamil culture point of view.
Yes, that is
I think as Westerners, it's very easy for us to just swoop in with our point of view. And the more I know about Tamil culture, the richer it is. I was struck by the map of Lemuria because I remember seeing a program that was trying to figure out how the Australian or Aboriginals had gotten to Australia because it's so far from Africa, and the Australian Aboriginals have the oldest DNA connected to Africa that hasn't been changed by all these modifications. And the speculation was that, they had gone through Tamil Nadu, and the man who was doing it with DNA finally found someone in Tamil Nadu who had this ancient DNA. And I looked at that Lemuria map and they went directly from Africa. They probably sailed to Lemuria. There could have been a really rich culture. And of course, everyone has this flood story in their history, but there's a whole land under the water. And they either went to Australia or they moved up to Tamil Nadu and developed very differently, probably because India had a richer biosphere. There's just so much in that film that touches on I don't have words to express it.
I'm very grateful because you bring it. It's interesting that you bring in the science and that Jack brings in the emotion. No, I mean that's an interesting balance.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think part for us it was actually this riddle, because Jose had her own kind of like spiritual homecoming with somebody who works with presently with Lemuria and all of that. And it's a myth. And we also know, I went into the academics of it because in the movement of the Tamil Dravidian independent struggle of 100 years ago, they had always the story. I'm always said Tamil culture has the only historical written documents about the sunken land. They call it Kumarikandam. Yeah? And so, but then apparently, the scholars, they rip it apart and says, well, actually that when the Theosophists were in India and the Dravidian movement was there, they integrated this Lemurian story into their Kumarikandam story and says that they are of a different origin. And I don't know if you remember when Doudou Diane was in the Auroville International Advisory Council from Senegal, this human rights activist, he said that his teachers, his esoteric teachers in Africa said, please, when you're over there in South India, check out about the African relationships. They must have been thousands of years. Now think of it geologically, when we say the Indian landmass was actually connected with Africa, and it separated it off. Madagascar is an in-between remnant from this, and then the Indian landmass crashed into Asia and brought up the Himalayas. But you know what? This happened 1 million years ago. So while I was kind of like in this story. So how did he come to it also? Because I came to the same research in one way. And then I said, is it possible that humans, that we have memories of kind of like of that time, those time spans? I had an experience once with Hopi Indians, and we brought them together. It so happened in a conference with Ainu people in Japan, and they realized that they had the same songs. And then we traced it back actually and says that what happened in the last ice ages. That's where many of the Native American tribes came across the Aleuts and Alaska. But that's 40,000 years ago, or 60,000 years ago. Now compare it then with this Lemurian thing, that's what, I mean, from the landmass. So that was kind of like this riddle in the background of it all. Is it possible that, I mean, we don't know what a million years ago was. Was there any human culture? And would there be memories of those things in our DNA? And as Mary, you say, I know about that study. I've been in Australia with Aborigines. I stayed for 2 years there basically. And then coming to Tamil Nadu, where there's not so much known about it, and then realizing that actually they found the DNA bridge in Tamil Nadu between basically the Bushmen and the Aborigines. Yeah, so that was part of the beauty of the film, that we were working with a material which also had a mystery about it.
Yes, and also through the village old man and passing the knowledge to the young generation, to the children. So about history of Lemuria, Tamil culture, and about the history of Mathur Mandir and Auroville. So it's a great document. We feel that like it's passing the knowledge to the younger generation through the village kids and through the village man.
Through story. Story.
Yeah, it's a true story. Yes. So that's why it gives the impact. Thank you for your beautiful command and emotion.
Well, I wanted to add that a few years back, it was, I read something about, a study of ancient languages, and it, I think that it's been verified that Tamil is the oldest continuously used language in the world. And it had, it has been written down, which many languages were not. And so it just feels to me like a confirmation of all of that, this whole, yeah. And, the carrying forward of rituals and patterns. And I'm reading right now about Native American traditions. And I think of this honoring the land, this making sure that you give as much as you take, both from the land and to other people, is so beautifully represented here in this film. It just,
thank you.
Wonderful.
I had this realization now viewing it when the boy asks the grandfather while they're planting this tree, I says, oh, I saw this amazing golden ball. Can you talk about it? And he starts talking about it. And then the girl says, no, come on, here, put the tree and do water it. I said, oh, fantastic. It was on the girl's side, actually says, let's stay on the job here. It's not about talking. It's not talking about it. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're living it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to be there in a week, and I'd love to meet with both of you.
Yeah, me too.
Beautiful.
Oh, welcome.
Wonderful.
Welcome. That the old man who's taking the photograph from his old trunk box and showing the authentic black and white photo of Mathur Mandir construction step by step. That is the main essence of the film. The main part of it.
That's what got me.
Yeah, it is really. I also feel always when I see then with the background music and showing that really give an authentic.
I was a blubbering little baby right then.
Yeah. And maybe check, because the passage, it's one of my most favorite passages of Sunil music. It's Book 7, Finding of the Soul. Yeah. Because the old man talks about building the soul of the city. And that track is basically when Savitri, in her journey, in her yoga, discovers the soul. It's that moment.
And miracle, that particular portion of music when he showing the photo from there to end, just matches. That's 2 minutes.
Within no cutting,
No cutting.
nothing. It was just
Oh, wow.
matches and it's fade out in the right time.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
While post production. Yeah.
Can I see actually, I'm happy to see that Bina is there, Mrs. Tyagaraj, who grew up on the land, and she basically unites the both cultures in her being. How was that for you, Bina? Have you been there seeing the movie?
Oh, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. Hello, Srini. Vanakkam.
She's the daughter of Jocelyn. Jocelyn's daughter.
I know her mother very well. Oh.
You know, yeah, I know your brother also.
Yes, he was
from the
with
from
your
the
mother.
from his
Yeah.
art.
Yeah, he was working and making paintings.
Srini's brother is also a painter and an artist, and he works with the kids, right?
Yeah. In our family.
I think you did a beautiful job. You know, something that I always am trying to integrate in my own being is my love of Tamil culture, the village, and especially in the early days, Auroville, I feel like the boundaries were very open. So there was such an interaction. And so your film was really kind of referenced a different time in Auroville. When we were all crossing those boundaries very easily. It was very fluid between village and Auroville. And it was so lovely having it in Tamil with subtitles and everything. I think that allowed everybody to have that experience, even people who weren't there in the early days. And you know, my husband is Tamil, and so for me always there's even more desire to honor the two cultures. I think you've done something that we've wanted for so long for other people to see and to share. You've given them a taste of something that some of us have tasted in Auroville, and it's so beautiful. There was a question that I want to ask you because somebody put it in the chat. They said, is it true that the kids haven't seen the inside of Matrimandir? Did you take them?
Yeah. See?
Have they seen it, or was that only in the film?
Normally, there is certain days they're allowing the children inside the Matra Mandir, but many kids not yet seen.
And those 3 kids? Have they been inside?
I have to check because because one school they would have taken, but not yet. I have to check it because some of the kids I've seen, but this I have to.
And then you have to bring?
I have to bring. Yeah.
It seems like a good point considering they say it in the film.
Yes,
somebody asked the question, it would be great to make sure that they get to.
No, it makes me. Yeah.
I'm sure people are wondering how they benefit because I have a feeling this film is going to have resonance for a long time, and I hope that they feel the benefits of what's coming.
Yeah, sure.
A great point, Bina,
Great point,
because we have on Tuesday, there's the Tuesday Matrimandir is only for the kids.
Yeah.
And it's more, but it's still only Auroville schools, so I'm not sure even
the village schools. Yeah,
village,
to connect.
Village government school. I think it's not happening, and that was part of it when we talked with actually also Stichting Desire in Holland. They were helping, and of course for them their interest is that it's spread, that it has an educational purpose. So that's why I said we were juggling those different pieces together in one way. So it also had to be educational. She was here. You say, where is she? Here.
Yeah.
You say you want to say something in that regard, or from your perception. You've been with it. You were there at the beginning. Without your input, it wouldn't have happened. We don't hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
Now? Can you hear me
Yes.
now? Yeah. Twice. I really enjoyed. It was magical. It was really, this is making a movie production with the soul. It's very soulful. It's poetry of the film. And the most touching moment for me was indeed when he opened the box and he took the pictures of the camp, and I thought, wow, this is a past merging with the present and the future. And this is exactly right now, since the 15th of May, we have a new Maitreya, a spiritual teacher for the world. And this is what is the beginning of the golden age, is when past and future merge in the present. And you did in a lot of dimensions, they were flowing together. It was becoming one, it was becoming oneness, different symbols. It was really, you are a perfect couple to make this. Yeah, it can only happen with a very harmonious and creative, and that's soul work. That's the soul at work, as I perceive it.
Yeah.
Apart from Auroville, we certainly can speak. Next week I will be in Auroville, and we can speak about further distribution on schools and in the Auroville International Circles also. But I want to say that this is particularly interesting also for eco schools. I don't know if you have heard about it, but there are schools whose foundation is very much founded on the climate change. And this is very perfect for them because it's made for children. And I have some connections in international schools and eco schools. So I would really love that they learn Auroville from this perspective. So.
Yeah, as you said, you know what, I knew that we went together to the archives, and then we selected pictures together. Doris was very beautiful. Actually, I read today the disaster of this takeover and losing the archives now, no? But then we had those photos, but then again, it was Srini's idea, how does the old man show them the photos and when? And that's with the trunk and all of that. That's his, I think it's his gift of storytelling.
And also at one point, the children takes the message in the beach when they're playing with the soil, with the sand, they make Mathur Mandir.
Yeah, I saw, yeah.
So that's one symbolic thing, how they connect to the future and from the past, from his old grandpa.
Yeah, I also liked, for instance, the flowing in different levels of consciousness, what you can see through the movie. And to say something about, in addition to what Mary was telling from more or less Lemuria research point of view, there is a resemblance between the logo of Lemuria and the logo of Sri Aurobindo. And that's what I like also very much.
If they had a logo.
Maybe number 2. We can go ahead with another film.
It's very rewarding for us basically, because now I'm seeing actually, and I think that was the idea, the motivation of the film was, and we're still finding things out, you know, even we call in the music director, and then the music director basically says that his we had delays in time scales, and Matthew said we set this date, and the music director didn't work. Finally he got some jobs after, you know, the lockdown, and then once he said one time his father walked into the studio and he saw this black and white pictures of Mathur Mandir, and then his father said, I was there.
Yes.
And that motivated the young music director actually to get the job done.
Yes.
So those instances, and when I'm seeing it now, I mean, this is a huge gift, Matthew. Thank you so much of bringing us together, because in one way, I think the film comes out from this community experience, from this, you know, 5 decades basically, growing together, learning from each other. And I'm seeing actually what it does in this community and what it can touch actually. It's a huge gift. It was a great idea, Matthew.
Yeah, well, I think I can't take much credit for the idea because the whole thing came very organically. And like I said, you reached out and said you were working on this project, and I was immediately interested and knew that other people would be interested. So it's a pretty simple, it's like a win-win, easy decision.
Yeah, and a great team. I mean, your team, how they stayed on track and fantastic.
Yeah, Yana and Alana with the social media and the Facebook Lives and all that stuff is really, they're doing a great job. And anybody, I really recommend check out our Facebook page and our Instagram. They're doing a great job with making connections in Auroville and sharing the exciting things that are happening there. And I think probably everybody subscribed to our e-newsletter, but that too. And we're going to keep doing things like this and bringing you interesting, innovative, creative people and projects from Auroville. And we're really grateful that this worked out. And you guys, it's like, everybody probably knows it's like 10:30 at night in Auroville now. So these guys look very awake and present. But you go outside and it's been dark for a long time. So thanks for sticking with us so late. And Srini, when he did the Facebook Live, it was 6 a.m. So we get him on.
It's great pleasure. It's great pleasure. What you're doing is amazing job for us. Thank you, Matthew.
So we're going to wrap up now.
Yeah.
Like I said, the recording will be available for everybody. We'll send it to everybody who registered. We welcome further donations for Yatra Arts, and you can just do that via the website. And we thank you guys so much. We thank everyone who attended, and also especially Aurelio and Srini for bringing your presence and just enriching the whole thing. It's one thing to watch a film. It's another to get this depth of background and nuance and all these things and layers on the experience. So thanks so much for sharing it with us.
Oh, thank you.
So beautiful. I see so many friends. It's difficult to close it. Raina, I cannot believe it. It was years. And Bill and all of it. What a beautiful community. You know what? I just say that to honor everybody. I always felt, I don't know, the mother talked about the special relationship between India and the US. And mostly, actually, most of the pioneers, the early pioneers, we don't call them old, the ever young early pioneers, I felt always from the American side that where the Tamil culture got its most honoring, its most recognition, its care in through individual relationships and all of that. It's definitely, I felt it today again. Your interest, your care, your openness, that actually helps to bring that awareness in the richness of this culture and the impossibility of having created Auroville. It's only possible through this. So in that way, that quest, what was the soil offering it? There's a little bit of an answer to it, no?
Yeah.
Thank you. I take this privilege and thank you, Aurelio, for creating a nice opportunity, and my cameraman Rajaram and our director Dhanush and editor and music director Jayabharu, the assistants, and in this occasion Adi Lakshmi, Priyadashni, all the actors.
And your papa.
Papa, yeah, my dad. So nice. And I told him today they're releasing an online premiere from USA. Oh, then he was watching there with my team. So he was so excited. And thanks to my team and thanks all of you who gave nice commands and support. Thank you, Matthew, for your AVI USA team. And all. Yeah.
I add and multiply the gratitude to your team. They did an excellent job, and your father as well. They all did an excellent job.
Perhaps we can just let everybody unmute and say thank you.
Thank you. I'll take the children to the Mathur Mandir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We love your vlog.
Thank you. Thank you.
So happy to see you. Beautiful. What a community. What a community. Anandi and all the people we don't know. Martha. So beautiful. Oh, yay! Wendy! I wondered where was Wendy.
Where's Wendy? Wendy's there.
Hi. That was nice.